We're following breaking news, dramatic news indeed, of a plot to blow up an airliner bound for the United States, a plot thwarted by the U.S. in cooperation, we believe, with Yemeni authorities and perhaps Saudi authorities as well. The President of the United States was informed of the plot by his counterterrorism advisor, John Brennan, in April last month. And the U.S. has gone forward. Now we're getting all sorts of statements, official statements from various departments and agencies in the U.S. government, including from the FBI. And I'll read a statement just coming in to the Situation Room from the FBI. As a result of close cooperation with our security and intelligence partners overseas, an improvised explosive device, IED, designed to carry out a terrorist attack has been seized abroad. The FBI currently has possession of the IED and is conducting technical and forensics analysis on it. The statement continues. Initial exploitation indicates that the device is very similar to IEDs that have been used previously by al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, that's in Yemen, in an attempted terrorist attacks, including against aircraft and for targeted assassinations. The device never presented a threat to public safety, and the U.S. government is working closely with international partners to address associated concerns with the device. The statement concludes, this is the FBI statement, we refer you to the Department of Homeland Security, including the Transportation Security Administration, regarding ongoing security measures to safeguard the American people and the traveling public. That statement coming in from the FBI. Also, just coming into the Situation Room, a statement from the Department of Homeland Security. The spokesman, Matt Chandler, just releasing this statement. Quote, we have no specific credible information regarding an active terrorist plot against the United States at this time, although we continue to monitor efforts by al-Qaeda and its affiliates to carry out terrorist attacks, both in the homeland and abroad. Since this IED demonstrates our adversaries' interest in targeting the aviation sector, DHS continues, at the direction of the president, to employ a risk-based layered approach to ensure the security of the traveling public. These layers include threat and vulnerability analysis, pre-screening and screening of passengers using the best available technology, random searches at airports, federal air marshal coverage, and additional security measures, both seen and unseen. The DHS statement adds, DHS will continue to work with our federal, state, local, international, and private sector partners to identify potential threats and take appropriate protective measures. As always, we encourage law enforcement and security officials, as well as the general public, to maintain vigilance and report suspicious activity to the appropriate authorities. All right, so we now have three official statements from the U.S. government, statement from the White House, a statement from the Department of Homeland Security, and a statement from the FBI as well. Nick Robertson has spent a long time studying these terrorist operations, including explosive devices. What do you make of all of these developments unfolding right now, Nick?
Well, I think it seems very clear, without using the words PETN, that white powder-based high explosive that the FBI is indirectly or almost directly making reference to when talking about targeted assassinations. That would have been the targeted assassination of Prince Mohammed bin Nayef, the counterterrorism chief in Saudi Arabia, and also targeting aircraft. That would be the underpants bomber attempted attack, and also the printer bomb. So I think we are dealing with PETN here. It takes, Wolf, you imagine the end of this pen here, just the end of this pen. That is enough explosive you could put in there to blow a hole in this wooden tabletop in front of me. So you get an idea that it takes only a tiny amount of this explosive, which is why it's troublesome to detect. There are scanners now that can scan personal baggage going on the aircraft with you that are able to detect this substance. But it is very, very difficult. Sniffer dogs aren't able to detect it. A tiny amount that can cause devastating damage to the fuselage of an aircraft is also hard to detect, as we saw with the underpants bomber. And it seems to be the fact that Ibrahim al-Asiri, this Saudi-born, living in Yemen, al-Qaeda bomb maker, still thinks he's got the right model to continue to pursue. What I find interesting here in this analysis that we're learning, that President Obama heard about it in late April, that this plot was disrupted, we understand, sometime last week. which gives an indication that counterterrorism officials, operatives on the ground, were maybe have been able to take greater advantage of chains of information and connection and personalities on the ground than they were able to with that printer bomb tip-off. The printer bomb tip-off came when those printer bombs were already on board aircraft leaving Yemen. So perhaps here, this is not only a strike against catching a bomb and learning about the materials, but it's also perhaps a great strike against the whole network that was putting the bomb together, Wolf.
And you remember that video, and we showed it to our viewers many times, of what that so-called underwear bomber would have been able to do. And there it is right there, potentially, if it had worked while he was trying to destroy that plane. And it doesn't take, as you point out, a whole lot of that PTN to get the job done. So this is obviously a very, very worrisome development. Let me bring Fran Townsend back into this conversation. The White House statement said the president was informed in April of what was going on. Do you have any sense when the actual plot, though, was thwarted, Fran?
You know, we don't really, Wolf. You know, what we're hearing is that it was in the last week, and that was the reason that as this information began to seep out, people were asked by the White House and the intelligence community not to talk about it. So my sense, Wolf, from everything we're hearing is that it's been very, very recent that this thing was disrupted, and they were trying to keep a lid on it so they could complete the investigation. What
does it say to you, Fran, when the FBI says in this public statement that they've released that the U.S. now is in possession of this IED and is conducting technical and forensics analysis on it, this improvised explosive device?
Wolf, probably our country's premier bomb forensic unit is down in Quantico, Virginia, at the FBI facility. They have they keep a lot of information about past bombs that they've analyzed. And so the cartridge bomb, the underwear bomb, all of the forensic data that was collected when the FBI would have gone back and examined what remains of those materials, they will be able to, that's why I said they'll look for signatures, they'll look for hallmarks of the fact, is it PTEN, is it the same explosive, is it been constructed, what are the detonators, how is it, you know, what are the technical sort of forensics of the bomb and how it would have worked, and can you trace it back to a single bomb maker like Asiri in Yemen?
We're expecting Leon Panetta, the defense secretary, to take questions in a few minutes, and presumably he'll be asked about this. We'll go to the Pentagon Live as soon as that happens. We'll take a quick break, continuing the breaking news right after this.